Hey guys, Jay here and welcome to another cosplay tutorial. Today we're making the Scarlet Scythe from Fortnite. So right at the beginning here, I should state that this probably is not to scale. If this doesn't look to scale to you, there's a reason for that. First off, I don't play the game. I have no idea what scale looks like in that game in the first place, especially when it comes to things that aren't real world items. Like the guns, obviously, I know what a 9mm or a AK-47 looks like on a person. But this fantasy Scythe X thing, no, I have no idea. So the other reason was because, just like all the memes, the fandom is all 12-year-old little children. I tried to get someone to help me, or just anybody in general, to help me get photos or videos or something of the characters holding it, and all I got was trolls. So, yeah, that sucks. So if it's a different scale, please somebody tell me. And then if it is a different scale, like a widely different scale at least, then I will update the template for that, which you can get in the description, and it'll be updated across everything. And then if you bought it from me at some point and it turns out it needed to be bigger or smaller, probably bigger or whatever, just let me know, and then I will send you like a better one or something, like a resized one or whatever it happens to be. But anyway, let's get right into the tutorial. I start this build with making the head, and I decide to go with EVA Foam for this part. Why? Well, this foam is much stronger and sturdier than normal EVA foam, and the head of the Scythe X thing is just the right size that if I were to use this stuff, I don't have to put a solid inner core inside like I do with all my other longer swords and blades. This stuff is strong enough to be sturdy just on its own when I use 2 layers, so I cut the head off of the template and trace it twice onto 6mm EVA Foam, flipping the template so the pieces are mirrored. I glue the 2 pieces together with contact cement, which whenever I do this, I always do 2 coats, because the first coat soaks too much into the foam and doesn't have nearly as strong of a hold. As you can see, I didn't cut the second piece out yet. This way I could line the cut piece up to the outline and cut them out together as one block. I decide to move to the handle for now, but I'll be going back to the head later to bulk it up a little bit. And I'll also be making the thickness of the handle match with the head. But for now, I take the handle part of the template and trace it 2 times, mirror it again, onto 6mm normal EVA foam. I can't get EVA Foam in large sheets right now, and the sheets I can buy are too short for the handle, so I have to go with regular foam for now. I also leave those little pieces inside the handle cutout details still intact, as I'll do that part on another layer later. Unlike the head, the handle does need a solid core. I'll be using the same water valve key that I've been using lately. It just so happens to work perfectly if I have the first angle to bend right where the handle starts go up inside the head, and then cut the bottom off right at the right length to fit inside the handle. But first I have to glue the 2 handle layers together. I used contact cement again. After that, I cut out a channel in the handle where the metal core will be. As you can see, it has that little angled curve there. That's where it'll poke up out of the top and go into the head. I put the core in place and contact cement 1 more layer of 4mm foam on either side. This brings the total thickness so far for the handle up to 20mm. If you think of it laying on the table from bottom to top, it goes 4mm, then 6mm, then another 6mm, and then another 4mm. The head, for now, is still only 12mm. To make the handle its final thickness, I add another layer on either side, this time 2mm. However, on this piece I finally cut out those little sections on the handle. This layer is where I'll be making that detail. This top layer will give the handle those cutout groove things that make it look like a stylized grip. Again, I just contact cement these on, but I'm careful to make sure it matches up where the grooves need to be. I also cut off the little spiked pommel thing whatever at the bottom, because that's not needed for this layer, as well as the little blocked off area on the backside, and the little triangle at the bottom, since that's all a cutout detail too. And now I add extra layers to bulk up the head. This is just 1 layer of 6mm regular EVA foam on either side. This will make it 24mm thick, which matches the handle after I added those 2mm top detail layers to that part. And now, while a little annoying to get fitting together right, here's how the 2 pieces I have fit so far, put together. Before I move on to the last piece I actually need to build, which are the sides of the head, I need to first bevel the head itself. I can't do this with the sides attached, so I have to do it now. I cut the bevels off the template, leaving the corners intact so that I could line them up on the foam, and drew where I needed to remove foam. I start by using a sharp utility knife blade to get most of the bulk off. After that, I move on to a Dremel and a sanding drum and sand down both sides. This creates a huge mess, so I like to put down a towel if I can, which covers all the stuff on my table, so I don't have to move anything, as well as makes for a pretty easy cleanup without the need for the vacuum. Now to move on to the sides, the last pieces I need to make. I used more 6mm What the Foam because I have some scrap from another build, which I'll talk about in a later video. I did the same thing as the head and cut it out of the template, traced it onto 2 layers of 6mm What the Foam, and then cut the bevels out of the template the same way, and traced them and beveled them again the same way. Literally exactly the same as I did with the head, just without the extra layers. And I did this for 2 pieces, making them mirrored, obviously, so they go one on each side. Also on the handle I sanded the sides to level them out, as well as rounded off all of the edges. And then I went over all of the areas I sanded, including the bevels, with a grinding bit, which kind of cauterizes the sanded area and makes it much smoother. And here's what that side piece looks like all sanded. And in case you didn't assume so already, yup, I glued them to the head with contact cement. Obviously. And now here's what it looks like with the sides attached, as well as with it connected to the handle, and I just used super glue off camera to glue the pieces together. To start the paint job, I took it outside where I can't film due to weather, and covered the entire thing with Plasti-Dip spray, then gray primer, and I hit the head and pommel with red spray paint. I'll be painting the rest of this prop with acrylic brush-on paints. The first thing I do is mask off the red sections so I don't accidentally paint over them. I also haven't painted inside the little angled cutouts and that little triangle cutout on the handle yet. I'll go back over those later. I go over the entire handle with a matte black. I'm using matte for one main reason, though I do have gloss black, I just don't want to use it because I don't want it to be glossy. Matte paint is a lot easier to paint on top of, which I need to do so for the red sections later anyway. I also paint those side pieces of the head with this same black. I didn't have to, but it was easier to not have to try to mask those off on the underside. To be fair, in hindsight, I should have just left the head and handle separate, then glued them together after painting, but I can't do anything about that now. After a few coats of black paint, I can use red that's a similar color to the spray paint, and add that to the pieces that need to be red, that I didn't do before, which are, again, those angled cutouts and the triangle cutouts, as well as a place I forgot to mention, which is, you can see on the side piece of the head there's that part that looks kind of like a hook shape. Inside there you can see the red color of the headpiece is visible. Obviously you can see that I painted that too. To finish the painting I mix up a gray color because I only have a dark gray, which is wrong. It needs to be pretty light, but I painted that onto the side pieces of the head as well as that area on the top back of the handle. And then after that I hit everything with a satin clear coat and the prop was done. Alright, so there's how to make the Scarlet Scythe from Fortnite. One thing I really should have done that I didn't do is I should have the metal rod that's in here, I should have glued it in place, like with hot glue or something. I didn't do that and it causes this. Like, I'm just doing that so you can hear what it's doing, but because it's hard to see on video, but it is twisting. And that will cause wrinkles or cracks in the paint. So, because I used a lot of acrylic brush-on paints, so that will cause those to crack. Spray paint will also crack. The only one that won't is vinylized paint. So if you use that, I guess it's not a big deal. But if you're like me and you use cheaper paints, then that's a problem. So you should really glue that in place. So I didn't do that in the tutorial. I should have. So just now you know. Also, the red spray paint didn't cover very well. I don't know why. This is What the Foam. So it should have been a lot more smooth, like along the surface, but it wasn't for some reason. And everywhere that I did the red spray paint, so the headpiece here with the red, and then this pommel, I guess is what it would be called, they didn't paint that bright. You could repaint that with brush-on paint, but I didn't want brush strokes, and the only red I had would have caused that. So, because you can see it in the inlays here, it's really hard to see, but you can still see them. And you can see that it's a different look than a spray paint. So I didn't want to do that all over the head and the pommel, which you could see it a lot better. Yeah, just be careful, I guess, with that. I don't know what it was. It might have been the paint that I used. I have no idea. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you like it, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys later.